Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And my guest today is co-founder and editor of Biohackers Magazine, Dallas McClain. And Dallas holds a bachelor's degree in biological sciences. He has taught English abroad, and he's passionate about sports, nature, and personal development. And those are all topics that I love too. So I'm super excited to speak with him today. Welcome, Dallas, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Well, it's my pleasure, Claudia. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to get into all the great things we have to talk about.
Looking forward to it. Now, let's start nice and easy. Why did you decide to teach English abroad, and what has this taught you about people, about life, and about yourself?
Oh, wow, that's an easy question, but a very full question. I'll say it wasn't my decision to teach English abroad necessarily. It was kind of an opportunity that I had to explore because my wife went to Spain. Barcelona was her dream to get her master's over there in urban planning. And we had just gotten married. And I was like, well, I have to go with you, so you have to put me in a suitcase and take me. And so we lived over there, and I needed a job or something to do while I was over there, because I was just working in the hospitality industry before in the States. So I decided, why not teach English? They have a pretty high demand. They're very interested in Europe and in Spain, especially to learn English, excuse me. And I went through a course when I got to Spain. It was lovely. It was amazing. Made some great connections. And the best part about teaching English over there was just learning each demographic, like each person's journey of where they were at in their lives and why they wanted to learn English and just who they were as a person. I made some great connections that I'll never forget. And I just really got to learn how and why people live the way they do over there. In Europe, it's a little bit different mindset than the USA. I'm from the States, so a lot of it's capitalism, work, and all of this type of stuff, and busy day. And they take a lot of time over there, especially the older culture, to just sit on a park bench and get some sun and just talk with an old friend. And it taught me a lot living over there. That was just one of the examples. Also, the food was really amazing. So Spain will always have a special place in my heart, but that's pretty much why I taught English over there.
So interesting. Yeah, life has interesting ways.
For sure.
And now you're in the biohacking community. So biohacking has become an increasingly popular trend in the recent years, I would say. So for those who are new to the concept, can you maybe explain what biohacking is just in general and how it can help people optimize their physical and mental performance?
Of course, yeah. So I didn't know what biohacking was when I was first brought into this company as the editor. I was like, what is this thing? It sounds kind of harsh, biohacking. And I kind of looked it up and got some feedback on what it was. But the best way I can describe it is it's somewhat of an approach, an experimental approach on taking your health into your control in a way where you can kind of learn more about what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and really broaden your horizons in a sense of what's available health-wise, because we're caught in this paradigm of treatment-based medicine, take the pill, treat the symptoms, but there's no focus on the root cause, I think. And I think that's starting to change. There's a changing consensus there, but biohacking is about the individual through the help of the community that's putting all of these new products and information out there and habits to take all of that and put all their ducks in a row and say, okay, which one am I going to try safely to see what works best for me? And then you try and track it through metrics and biomarkers and getting yourself tested and really learning about your biology, your mental state, your spiritual state, and getting a better picture of who you are and who you want to become. That's the best way I could probably describe it.
Yeah, and what I really love about it is the experimental nature of biohacking. I mean, it's really about figuring out what works for you, not
Mm-hmm.
what works for the average person, which doesn't exist, but
Mm-hmm.
what works for you. So you don't know because you don't measure it and you don't track it.
Right.
And if you start doing that, you learn so much about your own body, about what works for you. The same with diet and exercise. I mean, it could be that the standard protocols are just not working for you because your physiology is different. So
Right.
this is what I really like about the whole idea of biohacking and understanding your own body.
It's
Now,
fascinating. Mm-hmm.
it is so fascinating, that's for sure. So, what is your mission and vision for the Biohackers Update magazine?
Yeah, so Biohackers Magazine, we just would like to, as I was saying kind of before in the definition of biohacking, we want to increase their awareness. We want to bring this awareness to more than just the people that are involved in this niche space of health and wellness to everyone that's out there looking for answers about their health. Because unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, some people that discover this biohacking space are brought into it from a pain to purpose story. They're out of answers. They're fed up with maybe modern day medicine, and they are trying to just do anything. They're almost desperate to find something that helps them with their health. So we're trying to reduce some of that from happening. It's just like when you read a book, right? And a book is a story of someone's success or whatever it's about, but it has mistakes in it that you can learn from. So instead of going through that painful experience, maybe you can also learn from reading about someone else going through that so you don't make that same mistake. That's kind of in a sense what we're trying to do with Biohackers Magazine is take all of these people's stories, all of these experiments, all these hacks that have a good amount of science behind them, and take them to the modern everyday people, not just people in biohacking, not just people in obsessed with wellness, but everybody, because everyone wants to live a fulfilling life, and biohacking definitely plays a part in that. So we're just trying to create a community of people that really want to become better in every way and in the healthiest way, the most sustainable way. And I think that's what our main mission as Biohackers Magazine is.
I love that. And I think the prevention aspect is so important, shifting the
Mhm.
mindset from doing something when you feel bad to how do I prevent from feeling bad in the first place.
Most
Now,
definitely.
as someone who is passionate about personal development and wellness, what do you think are some of the most important habits and practices that, say, entrepreneurs can adopt to stay healthy and happy while building a successful business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say just from my own personal experience, personal development journey, discipline is probably the best thing that can help anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to build, because discipline helps you when you've lost motivation, when
Mhm.
when you don't have necessarily the energy that you would have on every other day. Discipline says, no, this is part of your life. You still do it. And that combined with a quote, I think from Stephen Covey in one of his books, he said, you can be efficient with things, but you can't be efficient with people. You can only be effective with people. So that kind of told me, okay, you have a task list and you can knock out the task list, but you can't do it at the expense of sacrificing relationships and being
Mm.
effective with people. If your child comes up to you and you dismiss them because you're working on something, what have you just told your child? So you have to, as an entrepreneur, it's hard, but you have to balance your life that is full of effective people and being effective with people, and then being efficient with things. And discipline has definitely helped me a lot on that journey. I read The Slight Edge was my first personal
Mhm.
development book, and it
Great
was
book.
so powerful for me.
Yeah.
But as you know, with personal development, you kind of evolve a little bit. And if I was to read that book today, I'd be like, okay, great book, but I'm a different person now. Like
Mhm.
I've kind of moved past that, and I'm reading different books, or I'm not even reading as much as I used to read. But if you read a book a bunch of times and you continually increase the level of books you're reading, eventually those books kind of just become part of you, and they're just inside you, and you don't even know. Sometimes you're having a conversation and just this line in this book comes out, or this theme comes out. And that's kind of what personal development is about, is you're using all these tools, these books, these resources, these mentors that help you become the best version of yourself. And that's what I would say personal development is to me. And the best tool, discipline, hands down.
Great points for sure. Yeah, motivation gets you started and discipline keeps you going. That's for
Exactly.
sure. Until you really embody the qualities that you're working on and they become part of your identity. But as we all know, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with finding the right work-life balance that works for them. So how do you personally prioritize your time and energy? And what strategies have you found most effective for managing stress and avoiding burnout? Maybe you can walk us through a typical day in your life.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that I just try not to get too overwhelmed by things that I have to do. That goes back to what I was saying with the things and the people. Um, that quote just I try to always keep it in my mind, because I have a ton of things to do, but I just try to always enjoy the journey and realize that it's not the end of the day if I don't get to that email, or if I don't get to that one thing. It's just part of how, God wanted it, or how it came out. I still try my best, but I can't sacrifice my health or the health with my family to do one more thing, continue doing one more thing, because there's never going to be necessarily an end. And when there is an end, you're kind of just like, oh, what do I do now? Because you've got yourself addicted to doing the
Mhm.
task and crossing off the task. So for me, I mean, there's a great book called The Alchemist. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about
Yeah.
it, by Paulo Coelho. And one line that always has stuck out to me in that book is like, life is an adventure. Like, if you look at life as an adventure, it changes your whole mindset, especially when bad things happen or things don't go the way you plan. You take it as a learning tool. You take it as something that you can come away with a new perspective and try again the next time. So it's the same thing when we're working on our projects and our entrepreneurial task. Life is an adventure. So don't get so caught up in checking thing off your list. Look at it as enjoying the journey, and really enjoying that time where you're becoming someone else through each task. You focus on like who you're becoming, rather than like the what. So kind of
Mhm.
like that Simon Sinek book, where he talks about start with why. If you kind of keep that in your frame of mind of always why you're doing something, it brings you back to the importance of just focusing on who you're becoming, why you're doing it, your mission, rather than like what you have to do, what you have to do, what you have to do. I don't know if that kind of answers the question, but I
Yeah.
mean, my daily routine, I get up every morning, and I'm thankful for another day. I think giving gratitude is really important. Um, it really puts the light of the day in the best theme, if I could say that, because it's something that now you've given your gratitude, and you're thankful for just another opportunity to make your impact on the world, to leave something good to the world. And that always kind of puts the right frame of reference. I also like to, if I can, I try to do exercise in the morning, and that helps with hormones and everything, and it really keeps me grounded. I take cold showers. I think the stress is good stress, in a sense that it kind of aligns your cortisol levels, and you've already
Mhm.
made the conscious decision to put yourself in that hard situation that you know is good for you, so that when other things happen, when other stressful things happen to you throughout the day, you're kind of already like, okay, I've already dealt with something pretty stressful, so I can handle this, you know. So it just puts you in a good frame of mind. And then I read books. I try to take breaks during my workday and read. I pray. You know, I think a spiritual connection is important, and I just play with my kids. Like I love my kids right now. They're 4 and 2 practically. So
Mhm.
they're if anyone who has kids, they know like at that age, it's like wow, they're all over the place. But
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
they're so fun too in the same way. Like I think it was I wonder what was his name, Ian something. He was a playwright, and he said something like, "We don't grow old. We grow old because we stop playing," or something like that. And we don't grow. We what was it? We stop playing because we grow old. Yeah, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing.
Mm. Mhm.
So it's like we need to always try and engage in that childness aspect too of life, of just taking it all in, the wonder, the everything that we lose track of that, I think, in a lot of our technological space. Technology is great, and advancements in the modern human world are great, but in a sense, if you don't escape to the nature and to the creation that is always happening and unfolding before you, you kind of get lost. So you need to like play and participate in that exploration and experimentation, like you were saying before, to really get a good grounding and have a good start to the day, if that makes sense.
So important, absolutely. Now, in your opinion, what are some of the most exciting new developments and trends in the field of, say, health technology, biohacking, and longevity in general that you have seen recently?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot out there that is constantly being thrown at us. I would say drug-free microdosing is pretty
Mhm.
exciting.
Yay.
Eh yeah. I mean, microdosing in itself is a trend, but this is kinda going beyond microdosing because you don't have to take or ingest anything. You
Can
can
you
use.
explain maybe for
Yeah,
the listeners who are not familiar?
sure. So, well, microdosing is just like when take a hit or take any type of substance that's gonna put your mind in a state where it's kind of a awakened state, or there's different words you can use, but instead of taking like the full amount of substance, you can take a very small amount, just enough to where you feel the effect, but you don't feel hindered. You don't feel kind of out of control. You still feel
Mhm.
in control, and you can harness it to turn it into productive or creative energy. So that's kind of what microdosing is. You can do it with psilocybin, those types of things. Drug-free microdosing is when you can take substances that don't go inside your body, but are external factors, that put your mind into that same pathway that the psilocybin or the drug taps into, a psychoactive agent, they call it. Garnett Dupuis is a guy behind a neurovisor, and it's this device you can wear that kind of just puts on your head, and this thing comes down over it, and it uses light and sound,
Mm. Mhm.
and you are literally, your eyes are closed, but you're literally seeing in your vision like a kaleidoscope, and you're getting used to these patterns. And then as soon as you get used to a pattern, it changes, and your brain has to adjust. And it's training your brain. It's like engaging your brain into those same pathways that the psychoactive agent activates, and when you're having a psychedelic experience. So it's really fascinating because a lot of people wrote off psychedelics as being bad for you because of the trip and the bad trips and everything like that. But I think, and used in a responsible way, the microdosing part, if you can get that energy to the point where you still have control and you can harness it and push it into something else that's productive, it's really quite fascinating. So that's just one thing. I don't know if you want me to keep going, but
Yes, keep going for sure. I want to
um,
what the craziest stuff out there is that you have seen, or the craziest stuff that you have tried personally.
oh my gosh. The craziest stuff. Well, I mean, there's all types of like stuff out there, but I'm kind of like a little more reserved to try some things that seem a little too crazy. But I've tried nitric oxide. There's a
Mhm.
company called Numa Nitric Oxide. Nitric oxide helps with so many things. There's a lot of science behind nitric oxide the being involved in so many cellular processes, practically every one, that a reduction in nitric oxide or a reduction in the ability to produce nitric oxide in the body is very much correlated with a lot of chronic diseases, autism, Alzheimer's, diabetes, a lot of, I mean, on almost all around the scales, a range of diseases. So that's pretty cool. I take like these little lounges um, that dissolve in my mouth, and I've noticed good things from that. I There's also light water. I don't know if you've ever heard of light water.
No.
No.
What's light water?
A light water is basically there's water, H2O, but light water is the water form that doesn't have a bad form of hydrogen. So most of our water has like a bad form of hydrogen. It's called deuterium. It's like a heavy hydrogen.
Yeah,
And
okay.
yeah, and what happens is when you're ingesting water and the hydrogens are broken up and go into your mitochondria to be used in the ATP pump, the
Mhm.
hydrogen is a little heavy because it's got that deuterium molecule, so it creates more strain on the mitochondrial pump. So it contributes more to aging, it reduces efficiency in producing energy, and you feel more tired and stuff. So light water, what they do is they filter out the deuterium
Mhm.
so that it's more pure, and the hydrogen fits more appropriately with the pump in your body. So that's a pretty cool one. I've tried that, and that's nice. You're supposed to like drink it um, in dilutions so that slowly it kind of gets filters the deuterium out of your body. Deuterium depleted water is found like naturally too, and like but mostly in like glaciers and stuff like that. It has to be made in a lab specially, in the case where they sell it to market and everything. There's also like there's really cool AI tools that basically where like telemedicine and stuff, they can use like screens,
Mhm.
but they can basically show and diagnose and do a lot of things based on AI and big data, and using that data to basically predict what someone has just by kind of looking and listening to them. But it's definitely more futuristic, but I've seen some glimpses of it at some recent shows and everything, and that's pretty cool. That would be really interesting to see what that kind of turns into, because it's kind of like an Alexa that's a mirror, but it's also like a trade show banner. And it's also like someone can just be in a green room on the other side of the world, and it's almost like a hologram can like be talking to you. So that's really, it's more on the technical side of biohacking, but that one's really cool. I don't know. There's a lot of great things. Red light therapy is cool. The
Yes.
infrared therapy,
Mhm.
the saunas. I've tried those. I think those are really neat, and definitely have some type of positive effect after using those. There's just there's a lot. We've done so many people. Had a lot of people on the cover. Molecular hydrogen is a really interesting one. It kind of goes back to the deuterium depleted water. With molecular hydrogen, it's a certain form of hydrogen that it's the smallest atom. But the way this molecular hydrogen works is it's able to diffuse completely into the cells, bypassing all of the pump stuff, so that it kind of gives the proper fuel to all of your cells, and in the best way possible. So I wish I could go into more detail on that, but it's been a while since I looked at that one. I don't know. I talked to a
Wow.
lot of interesting people, so there's always great stuff coming out in
So
the biohacking space.
yeah, so fascinating. By the way, I read an article about cold run therapy in one of your past issues, and I
Oh
thought
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing because that's kind of what I've been doing the past few years. So
Oh
I
yeah.
only wear like a short sleeve t-shirt and leggings and a vest. Even when I go running in winter and
Mhm.
it's and temperatures are down to say -5, -10 degrees Celsius, and
Wow.
it's really uncomfortable in the beginning, but then you kind of get used to it and afterwards you feel great. So I
Mhm.
didn't know it was a thing, but apparently it is.
Yeah, yeah, one of our first or primary issues was a guy, I think it was Norway, and he would go running in nothing but, like, shorts, and at the end of his run, like a 40-minute run in snow, like in
Mm,
winter in Norway,
yeah.
he would jump into a pool of water.
Wow.
Yeah, a very, very cold pool of water, so he said it was just exhilarating. It's painful at first, you feel like
Yeah.
that sting, but then you feel that release, and he's
Mm.
like, "There's nothing like it," and, one of our CEO, he actually does, like, cold plunges, but he does them
Mhm.
for, like, 40 minutes, like, he'll just sit in there
What?
for 40 minutes. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Oh.
And he does it he, like, taps into this I guess this flow state or something where he plays a certain type of music and he knows the length of each song and he uses the beat that's in each song to kind of like get his mind in the
Mhm.
same rhythm, so that he knows when the song is ending, when he knows when it's starting, he knows like each part of the song. It's really interesting. He did a talk on it recently, and I think that's pretty powerful because cold plunges are, I think, are definitely beneficial to the body. It's like I was saying before, cold showers, but I haven't gotten on the
Yeah.
cold plunges train
Yeah.
yet. I need to.
Me neither, but we're in the process of building an ice bath, so
Mm,
maybe this winter. So far, it's just cold showers, and they're uncomfortable. I don't like the cold. I never liked the cold, but I'm getting into it, so I'm doing the thing.
nice. Yeah, my wife is the same. She hates the cold, but I like it. I don't know if it's like where my genetics are come from or something. That would be an interesting study, like why
Mm.
some people prefer the cold, some people don't. But yeah.
Yeah, I prefer the sauna over the cold, but yeah. D different mechanisms, both beneficial. And I
Yeah.
think I think it's safe to say that there are a lot of unconventional people in the biohacking community. Who has been the maybe most memorable personality that you have interviewed so far or featured in your magazine?
Ooh. Oh man, I have to choose on
Oh, you have
live
to
air.
choose.
Well, I mean, Ben Greenfield, we've had Ben Greenfield on the cover, and I just love his mission and what he talks about. And, he's seen as one of the grandfathers of biohacking in a sense. So I think, definitely Ben's message resonates with me, and I think resonates with a lot of people. We recently had Garnett on the cover, and he's actually releasing a spotlight edition very soon. And he's a very down to earth guy, but super knowledgeable. Has written so many articles for us that go really deep into consciousness, unconsciousness, the
Mm,
awakened state, dreaming state. He's all about the brain and hacking into because we know so little about the brain still, but what we can learn from his studies and his research and all of the research that he puts together on a very clear, understandable manner, is really quite fascinating to always engage with him. So we just had a talk recently, and he's a down to earth guy, super smart guy, but that's what I love about him. He's very easy to talk to, communicates on a well level. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Einstein or something, but they were like, the way to determine if like someone has that genius level is to take very complicated concepts and put it
mhm.
into a language that's easier to
Easy.
diffuse into the masses, to the common everyday person. And I think that's brilliant, and I definitely talk with a lot of people that have been featured in our magazine that have that quality.
Mm, yeah, that's great. You know that you've understood something completely if you can explain it in simple terms to a 5-year-old. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and the analogies. I think people that can use analogies so well,
Mm,
it's definitely a sign that they have something, that's, of a high intellect inside them, because analogies just make it makes the bridge so much more clear between the concept and what it actually is, at least for me.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today? Maybe some of your favorite books or resources for people who would like to dive deeper into the biohacking topic?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start with books. Like I was saying before, The Slight Edge is a great book
Mhm.
for anyone that's
Awesome.
just searching for a start, because it helps you develop that disciplined mindset so you can continue to read other inspiring books. Um, How to Win Friends and Influence People, classic,
Mhm.
great book, Dale Carnegie. Richest Man at Babylon was always a staple of mine as well. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Um, and those aren't just books about money. They're books about the richness of life, the richness of wisdom, acquiring wisdom. And The Alchemist, has always been a great book of mine too. The Magic of Believing. There's a lot of great qualities that come from just pure belief in something and in yourself. So that's a good book by Claude Bristol. I have so many, but those are probably the ones that come to mind and definitely my staples. But anyone that's looking to get into biohacking, I would say, follow us, Biohackers Magazine. We try to put, impartial material out there that's going to help the everyday person discern what's true and what's not true. We're doing a certification program where someone that is a vendor or trying to sell a brand or a product, they have to basically go through testing, release an ethical statement, send us scientific studies and research that backs up the claims of the product so that we can say, okay, this is BS or this is true, and put a stamp of approval to make it easier for consumers out there, because there's so much
Oh,
out there, as you know,
mhm.
in biohacking. It's kind of what's great about it is it puts more control in the hands of the consumer, but it's more unregulated. So feel like people can slide in and get away with more claims and things like that pretty easily with brilliant marketing. So we want to try to turn into a certifying body and help the consumer make those decisions when there's so much out there.
Oh, that's great. I love that. So, where can people find you?
Yeah. So biohackersmagazine.com. We're going to be changing our website to biohackersmag.com shortly. We're also on lifespanning.com. Lifespanning is a term that we're slowly gravitating towards. We're actually becoming Lifespanning Media Corp, and there's going to be a launch next month.
Mm.
Biohackers Magazine is going to be a sub company under that. We're going to have Lifespanning Expert Series where we talk with experts that want to share their knowledge. Lifespanning Academy for people that want to go into the staples of biohacking and longevity and all of these things. We're, like I was saying before, a certifying body, so Lifespan certified. Um, there's going to be a Vitality marketplace where people can see all of the certified products and buy the certified products. So lifespanning.com is another one that's going to be an exciting new launch for us. Biohackers Magazine. You can find also a lot of our interviews on No Plan B podcast. It's a podcast. John Falacara, our CEO, he runs that podcast, but also interviews that I do go on that channel in a category. So we have a lot of inspiring content there as well. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Biohackers Magazine. Yeah, that's everything.
Awesome. All the good places.
Yeah.
Dallas, thank you so much again for sharing your tips and your insights with us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, Claudia, and I hope we can do it again sometime soon. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take care and talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. Want more? For quick, actionable tips and insights to guided meditations and a side of biohacking, join my inner circle and get access to exclusive subscriber-only content. Again, just use the link in the show notes to join the tribe. Thank you for your support and see you on the other side. Take care and talk soon. Bye.